Hello everybody and welcome to the second episode of my channel Annika's Country Life. I am Annika and I live in the south of Sweden in a small village called Siringe. And the closest city, bigger city, is Jönköping. And it's close to the big lake Vättern. I think it's the fourth biggest lake in Sweden, or third, yes. Well, this channel is about gardening, wildlife, some cooking, and about knitting. That's some of my interests. I have many interests. I also like history and genealogy and many things. But today I think you can guess what I'm going to speak about. It's knitting. Knitting and yarn. And I have my sweaters and my cardigans here that I made during 3 years, I think. I learned to knit when I was 7 years old. It was my mum that taught me. And I have been knitting a lot during my life, especially during the 1970s and 1980s. But then I had about 15 years when I didn't do any handicrafts at all, I think. Because I was not only knitting, I was also crocheting and sewing clothes, not much. Some I did. But embroidery also, mostly cross stitches. So I think it was when I was around 40 years and my eyes started to... I didn't see so good anymore. I needed a lot of light. And I first didn't have these progressive, I think it's called, progressive glasses. But 3 years ago I started do a lot again. I had done some also during the years, but 3 years ago that winter I started to do a lot. And I'm gonna tell you about these patterns and the yarn I have used. And yes, some information. I have written down everything here. Also 3 years ago, about there, I discovered Ravelry, which is a handicraft website where you can buy patterns, you can see what people are doing, and you can also have an own page there where you put in what you have done. And my Ravelry name is By på landet. That's because my Swedish channel, which I've had since 2016, it's called I en by på landet. And that means in a village in the countryside. And that's why I also made this little shorter, By på landet. So you can find me there and see all my projects during these years. And I also started to watch all knitting podcasts at YouTube. And that gave me a lot of inspiration. And now I follow many podcasts in Swedish, in Norwegian and in English. In Sweden we understand Norwegian also a lot. It can be, some words are different, but you just have to learn them. And some dialects can be more difficult to understand when they are speaking. But I can follow a Norwegian pattern, knitting pattern, that's no problem. The first sweater I made about 3 years ago was this one. It's made in Lättloopy from Eastex. That's an Icelandic yarn company. And I will say that when I make sweaters and cardigans for myself, I like rustic wool yarn, non-superwash. And all of these are rustic non-superwash yarns. So I started with this in Lättloopy, and it's called After, and it's designed by an Icelandic woman, Vedis Jonsdottir. And Lättloopy yarn, it's 100 meter per 50 grams. I can't all this fingering and sport weight and such things, so instead I tell you the length of the yarn. So this was the first one, and I have no problem with rustic yarn. Some people don't like it's itching, and so I can feel a little bit here at the neck, but that's no problem for me. And to knit with Lättloopy, it's quite fast. And this was the first one. Then I went on with Riddari. And now I wanted a longer, so I made it longer than the pattern said. So it warmed also my bum. And I use this outdoors a lot. I can have 2 or 3 garments at the same time. And this is very warm and nice. So this is one of my sweaters and garments that I use a lot outdoors. It's also designed by Vedis Jonsdottir, and it's in Lättloopy. The next one I did, I think it was this one. It's a long cardigan, because I wanted another long. And this one I designed by myself. I just took I just checked the Riddari, how many stitches and so on. And then I knitted this one. It's a little bit wide here at the neck. Maybe I could knit on some more or do something, but it's okay. Also Lättloopy. And I continued with Lättloopy and made a Telja. And this one is designed by Jennifer Stengas. She's American, lives in Maine. And she also designs a lot of sweaters. This kind of yoke is quite characteristic for Jennifer Stangas in different ways. That's all we'll let loopy. And here I have Rygja. It's made by a Norwegian yarn called Tove, and the yarn company is Sandnes, and Tove is 100% Norwegian wool. And this is a typical Norwegian pattern. All the ones I made in Let Loopy you can find at Ravelry, and you can find the patterns there in English. This Tove at Ravelry, it says that it's available in English, but I couldn't find it. You can't buy the pattern from Ravelry. You have to buy a booklet from Sandnes, and here are many patterns. And this is Rygja there. So maybe you can check the website for them and ask if you can find it in English. This one was a little bit tight for me. At my down here I can use the buttons up here, and I think it's very beautiful. I fell in love with it when I saw this pattern. Another yarn is from a Danish company, and that's Luna. Luna by Permin. Permin is the company. And this pattern is made by Kate Davies. She's British, and I think she's Scottish. The yarn is recycled wool, and it's also certified with Ecotex. It means that it's no unhealthy chemicals in the production. And this is bluebell, I said, yes. So there are these bluebells also there and down there. And this one I have used a lot, very much. So it's a little bit, I don't know what you call it, but you can see the structure here. It's nopprig, we say in Swedish. Maybe it's because it's recycled. It makes it more this. Then I was thinking I was a thinner cardigan. So I started to use the yarn Super Soft from Holst company, which is also a Danish company. And I made another pattern from Kate Davies. And now it's foxgloves. That's a flower I have in my garden. So I thought it's good to have foxgloves. I like them very much. So this is a thinner yarn. It's 287 meters per 50 gram. And I had to change the pattern and how many stitches I would use. So I had to test and try to get it good for me. But this is also a very good cardigan. There are no flowers down there, it's only at the neck. Yes, and I should say that the Holst Super Soft, it is not washed after spinning, so it's still some spinning oil when you are knitting. But when you wash it, it's blooming and becomes even softer. So I like it. I have no problem with knitting with it. I don't think it's hard that's okay. I don't need it so soft when I knit. So I knitted one more in Holst Super Soft, and now a cardigan with some lace. And this pattern is made by Lene Holme Samsø, and she is a Danish designer. And you can find this pattern in English too at Ravelry. And it's very popular. I've seen many have knitted this one. You can also make a sweater of it. Yes. And now I go to the 2-ply sport weight yarn. And I'm using two different. One is from Ullcentrum. It's a Swedish company. And it's made by Swedish wool. And I think that's very good for me. A lot of wool, the sheep farmers in Sweden, most of them, they are just burning the wool. It doesn't give them so much money, and there are not so many companies in Sweden who want to take care of the Swedish wool, and that's very sad, I think. But Ullcentrum is doing that. Their website doesn't tell where they are spinning the yarn, but I have heard they are doing it in Italy. So maybe it's like that. And it is 300 meters per 100 gram. You buy it in skeins. And the other 2-ply yarn is Campes. That's also a Swedish company, but they are buying wool from New Zealand and they are spinning it in Sweden. So that's two different kinds of Swedish yarn. And I made this. This is a lotus flower cardigan or jacket. And I used to mix these from Ullcentrum and Campes because they are the same thickness. And this is made by a Norwegian designer, Marianne J. Bjerkman. And you can find this pattern also at Ravelry in English. And then I started to think I want to make some own designs. And I was inspired by chicken knitting. I don't know if you have heard about that. It started in Denmark in the 1970s. And it was a reaction against the fashion industry. And a lot of feminism also. And the idea was to use the yarn you have at home in your stash and mix it together in a sweater, cardigan, or whatever you want to do. So they were very colorful. And they also inspired to use cross-stitch patterns. And that's what I did. So I made this Siringe cardigan. And I said this village is called Siringe. So I found cross-stitch patterns at Pinterest, and I took things that is typical for this village and for my home. That's cats. I have 2 cats, and this looks like the dog I had before. I had to put him to sleep a year ago, and I'm still very sad about that, but he looked like this. And leaves, of course, flowers, here's tulips, birds, apples I have in my garden, insects, bugs of different kinds, and hearts, of course, love, and a coffee cup. Coffee is very important. And here it's also salamanders. I love salamanders. And there is butterflies. And there it says Siringe. And the hearts means I love Siringe. And owls I also have here. And this is a cardigan I use very much too. And I like it. I like the pattern. I'm very pleased with it. So, and that's also this 2-ply sport weight yarn. And then I thought I need something for the autumn. Autumn leaves is very beautiful. So I did the same with this one. I picked maple leaves from Pinterest, and then I just rotated them in different ways and in different colors. And I like this very much too. It's special when you are making your own pattern, I think. I hope I can do more of that. I'm probably not going to be a designer, because I think it's very difficult to make different sizes. But maybe in some years, who knows? So, this is all the cardigans and the sweaters I have here in wool yarn. So I hope I can inspire you to go on knitting, and I will come back in episodes later with more knitting. And maybe I should show you what I'm making right now. I almost forgot it. It's another cardigan. And this is also a traditional Norwegian pattern called Fana kofta, Fana cardigan. Because I felt during Christmas I want a Christmas cardigan, this Christmas red. And so I'm doing it now. Then it will be ready till next Christmas. And that pattern I took from this book, Norwegian knitting. And I checked at internet, and you can find this book also in English. Well, I write the title here. I found it at Adlibris, so you can find it there. Here is the big picture. And this is not the yoke. Instead you have to cut up for the sleeves. And that's the first time I will do that. Okay. I hope you enjoyed this time. And I'm soon back again with gardening, wildlife, cooking and knitting. If you have not seen my first episode, you can go back and see it. It's some about my garden, how it looks like in summer too, and all my growing. And I did some meatballs also in the kitchen. Thank you for watching, and I hope you will have I hope we will see each other again. Bye bye.